isn't it? Is that too dark? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, little bit. Hello and most welcome in tonight's episode of podcast Tahaddi. Unfortunately, the numbers speak for themselves. More than 90% of mega projects fail. And this phenomenon is mostly known as the iron law of mega projects, coined by Bent Flyvbjerg. Over budget, over time, and under benefits. More and more again, or over and over again. But there is a good news. We are just around the corner from the upcoming Megaprojects Conference taking place virtually this December. And in this episode, we will share with you all the details you need to know about the event. And we are going to try as well to explore how professional governance can significantly improve the chances of mega project success. Be tuned.
Welcome, listeners. Today we are delighted to bring you another inspiring episode of Tahaddi, the podcast dedicated to helping you enhance your management skills and navigate your career journey. Your host, Sameh Makki, your go-to expert in project management and career coaching. Every Wednesday, we invite esteemed guests. Welcome, listeners. Today we are delighted to bring you another inspiring episode of Tahaddi, the podcast dedicated to helping you enhance your management skills and navigate your career journey. Your host, Sameh Makki, your go-to expert in project management and career coaching. Every Wednesday, we invite esteemed guests to join us and share valuable insights from their respective industries. They will provide unique perspectives and practical advice, leaving us all with a nugget of wisdom to apply in our personal and professional lives. Newcomers to our show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to ensure you stay updated with every new release. Now, let's kick off today's engaging discussion. Stay tuned.
Hello and most welcome again. Sorry, and I apologize personally for the late streaming. And today we are going to discuss the mega project and its issues and problems. Our esteemed guest in this episode is probably the world's #1 governance practitioner, as he wrote on his LinkedIn account, expert in project, program, and portfolio governance, the president at P3GQA, which stands for Project Program Portfolio Governance Qualification Authority, and as well the managing director of Ross Garland and Associates. And by luck, I came to know that he is like me, he's an electrical engineer at the beginning of his journey. So he has also the bachelor degree in engineering with the major of electrical. Join me in welcoming Ross Garland. Ross, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Sameh. I'm glad we got over the technical issues and we can get into the interesting stuff now.
It's mine, actually. It's mine. I apologize. Sorry for that. How's everything going?
Everything is going well. It's probably not as sunny here in England as it is in the Middle East. But apart, it's going very well indeed.
That is
we're
great. I'm
building
so
up
happy.
the conference.
Yes, sure. We are preparing right now. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. We're building up to it. It's only about 3 weeks before we kick off with the round table. So it's all very exciting at the moment. My partner Alberto Osman, who is the CEO of P3GQA, is working very hard on getting the conference ready to rock and roll. So yeah, it's exciting times.
Awesome. That is awesome. Actually, I'm so happy you are with us today, and I'm so glad actually and honored to be ambassador of the conference in EMEA region. And I wish to meet and see most of the professionals in the project management field during the conference in December. I would like to say thank you for everyone joined us right now and all people joining us during the session, and even anyone who doesn't have time right now and he or she is going to see our streaming after publishing on our accounts on YouTube and Facebook, and also on our accounts on LinkedIn. Ross, let's start, by some basics. So the people who didn't get to work before in mega projects, let's have the basics and definitions of what is the mega project and how is the difference between mega project and the normal project.
Yeah, good question. So it's interesting too, because a mega project varies depending upon what organization you're in. So for instance, one organization might consider anything over $1 billion. In fact, I was talking to an organization just this morning and I said, what's a mega project to you? And they said, well, anything over $1 billion. But then if you go into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, suddenly you're talking about, well, anything over 10 billion or 15 billion or something like that. So it depends on the organization. But the way to think about mega projects is not so much in terms of their capital, but in terms of their risk. How much risk are they placing the organization under? Now, capital, the amount of money you're spending is a good way of determining what the risk is, but it's not the only way. So you could end up, particularly with complex systems, integration issues, making a very high-risk project that might only be a few $100 million. So it depends, is the answer to the question.
We can get to the idea of it's not depending only of the amount, but the complexity, how many parties are there, the stakeholders, for instance, the nature of the job, all of those factors. I'm sure that it will affect, in the definition of mega project. Is it right?
Exactly. It's exactly right, because all those factors play into the risk. It's all about the risk that the particular project places on the organization. But for simplicity, when we're talking about mega projects, we're talking billions. That tends to be what we're talking about. Yeah.
That's fine. When I talked to Alberto Osman earlier and start, the preparation for telling the people about the event, such a major event in December for the conference, why we didn't go for, project conference itself, or, why we didn't go in the normal and conventional way, project management conference, for instance. Why the mega project is very important, so we can get to an event like this only to discuss the issues and the problems of mega projects.
Right. It's the thing about this conference is that although it's going to discuss many issues regarding project management and so forth, when you're talking about projects, mega projects, you're talking about organizations having massive investments in their future. Or in the case of the giga projects in Saudi, for instance, you're talking about the country investing in its future. So the Mega Project Conference, there's going to be a lot of people there who have worked in the engineering field, but have come to the realization that it's about the investment. It's about, if you're making a mega investment, you want a return on that investment. So how do you ensure you get that return? And that's more than just delivering on time and within budget. It's much more than that. It's about making sure you get the business outcomes that you're seeking, making sure you get the benefits that you're seeking, because this is why you're investing in the first place. You're not investing to bring an asset in on time and on budget. You're investing to get benefits.
Okay, that is awesome. In your opinion, Ross, the issues and the problems in the normal project little bit different from the issues and the problems arise or appear on the mega projects?
The issues tend to be very similar. Like my expertise falls in the governance space, and the governance issues tend to be very similar, but you get some specific issues arising because of mega projects. So one of the classics is with an organization, if they're undertaking a mega project, they're worried about the risk. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll say, well, we need the let's say, the audit and risk committee. It needs to sign off on any of these decisions, or we need this committee to sign off on these decisions. And before you know it, you've got a multiplicity of committees that are all involved in the decision making, and that slows decision making down. So you have to get around that. You have to rationalize that committee structure so that it doesn't slow down the decision making. And that's a particular issue for mega projects. And there's other issues as well. You know, do you want me to talk about other issues? I can talk forever about these things.
I know that many challenges are there, and we can actually brief or talk about them little bit. But what you are saying right now, taking me again back to the governance, and I feel that what you are describing right now, it's related much to the governance of the project, program, and the portfolio. And even, you know, in my opinion, when we are talking about mega project and the billions, we are not talking about just normal projects, but we are talking about portfolio.
Yes, that can be the case. Like what you would normally find, you've got the project space, but when you've got a mega project, it's almost certainly, at the very least, a program, and that simply means it's not semantics. It's far more important than just semantics. It means it's a group of related projects that are going to have to be delivered in a coordinated fashion so that you get the benefits and the outcomes that you're seeking. And that's effectively the definition of a program. But again, if you go to somewhere like Saudi, where you've got massive projects like Durea or Neom or projects like that, and they're effectively a portfolio made up of programs. So it's very interesting when you get into projects and programs of that size as to how you treat them. And it changes how the governance treats them. Because the danger is, tell me if I talk too much, Sameh. The danger is...
No. I mean, the microphone is yours, you know? I'm with you.
The danger is with these huge projects is that if you try and govern them just as a project with a single board at the top, and then you've got all your project managers underneath delivering work streams, the danger with that is that the people at the top, which is where the business people are, they're getting overwhelmed with decisions and they can't keep up with the decision making. So what happens is the project managers who are down in the work streams themselves, they'll start making those decisions for that project steering committee. And they'll be making decisions with business impacts, and they won't even be aware of it. They won't even be aware that what they have done is damage the future operations of that particular asset. So that's the danger. That's why you need to drive business interest deep down into the project, and that's what programs do. They get business levels lower into the program.
That is great. If you remember, 2 or 3 years ago, the BMI conducted many researches to search and to redefine the project success term. And they came with, with the idea of the project is not failed only if it's over budget and over time and, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But we have to look good at the benefits and at the end result. For instance, if we came to the example of Sydney Opera, for instance, and I'm sure that this example is very famous and presented in many conferences and the talks. Maybe it's over budget, it's beyond the time schedule with many years, but at the end, the result which you got is awesome. And it's, remarkable tourism place visited by millions every year.
Yes.
But now we are talking about the iron law, over budget, over time, under benefits. How can we get the success of the project out of those terms?
Okay, over budget and behind schedule. I know if you own a hammer, then everything is a nail, isn't it? Now, I'm an expert in governance, so I always look through a governance lens, which in some cases I think is highly justified, because the governance is always an issue on these big projects that go over budget and over time. It's always an issue. governance is about decision. It's about putting the right structure in place, putting the right people inside that structure, choosing the right people, not according to their personalities, but according to where they sit in the organization, and then informing them
Okay.
with the right documentation. Now, these big budgets that are going over schedule, that's a decision-making flaw. Either that or it's a bad planning flaw. Or if you listen to Bent Flyvbjerg in the conference, I'm sure he'll make the point that our estimating of project costs is also a big issue, and we haven't improved apparently in the last 150 years.
Okay, I see. That is great. طيب, for all watchers right now, or the people who are watching the episode right now, especially the people working under the umbrella of the project management, why is it important actually for them to attend the event and to be, to listen to those highly skilled professionals and speakers in such an event?
Yeah, the thing is, the people that will be speaking here, like I'm an expert in governance, but I'm really interested to hear some of these people talk, because there's going to be, if you take somebody like Professor Flyvbjerg, his knowledge in the major projects area is across the entire ecosystem of major projects. So he can say things where I will look at that and I'll think to myself, how does that impact what I tell my students when I'm coaching them in P3G, in project program portfolio governance? Because you have to stay abreast of what these people on the cutting edge are actually thinking and what they're saying. So if you take Professor Flyvbjerg, his work on reference class forecasting is just phenomenal. And
Yes.
they've created this massive database where they can reference that, they can take any major project and compare it to a particular reference class that they then normalize and indicate the extent to which the estimates that the organization has put in place are realistic. So understanding things like that is hugely important. And the people that are coming to this conference really are the cutting edge. And you can always learn from those people. They think differently. They will have thought deeply about something, and they might take a different approach to what you would take. So, that's the benefit, isn't it? That's the beauty of listening to these people.
I can't agree more. And while you are talking right now, I remember the book How Big Things Get Done by Bent Flyvbjerg, and the amazing insights inside the book regarding the estimation. To be optimistic at the beginning of the mega project, especially to start something and you don't know exactly what you are going to do. So he told that, plan slow, but when you act fast. Many things I'm sure that he will reflect while we are talking in the conference itself.
I'm sure. Yeah, that book of his, for anybody who hasn't read it, definitely worth reading. Very easy to read too. Very pleasurable.
That is great. What's your opinion to take some, intervention and the question from the chat box?
Oh, hang on, the chat box. How do I get to the chat?
I will read it for you. I will present some of them.
I like that.
Yes, Mr. Ibrahim Al-Susi أو السنوسي, شكرا. Thank you so much for attending and joining us. Engineer Muhammad Abdul Ati, many thanks for your time. Also, there is one question here. How can you solve governance independencies issues as a part between program and the projects and the challenges to realize goals and the benefits? I will show you the...
How can you see governance independencies issues as part between programs and projects and the challenges to realize goals and benefits? So the governance is very much focused, or should be very much focused, on decision making and what you put in place. So when you're determining who sits on project boards or program boards or whatever, one of the things that is important in governance is that the business drives the project or the program. What you don't want is the business not being terribly well integrated into the project or program. Because if it's not, what you're delivering is an asset. Whereas all of us should be thinking in terms of investment. We're delivering a business outcome. We're investing in a business outcome. Now, the people who understand the business outcomes, they're the business people in the organization, not so much the delivery people. Now, don't get me wrong. Delivery is hugely important, massively important. So if I was the project sponsor of a mega project and I worked in the business, when I set up the project board, the very first person I'd want sitting there beside me would be the delivery person. So that they can advise me on the delivery factors, because I can't afford to get that wrong. So in terms of challenges to realize goals and benefits, what you're really looking for is to make sure you've got business people involved in that decision-making process. It's asking too much of project managers to focus on benefits. That's not their job. You want them focused on delivering that asset on time and within budget. It's the business people who have to focus on those benefits. They've got an interest of time and budget as well, of course, but they need the project managers can only help to an extent when it comes to business outcomes and benefits and goals.
That means we will concentrate with the project managers and implementers only for the delivery of the projects?
No. Well, it depends on what you mean by delivery. You mean the actual implementation, the construction, for instance.
Exactly.
No. You've got to involve them earlier than that. Yeah, they have to be involved much earlier than that.
From the beginning. Okay.
Yeah. They need to be involved from the beginning so that they can constantly be advising on the costs associated with the particular asset, because they'll have a better understanding than the business people will. Alternative ways of delivering that particular asset and so forth. And what's interesting on a project board is, or where it can get interesting, is where the delivery people want to go that way and the business people want to go that way. And that's a really healthy tension. That's a good tension to have, where you've got to try and work out it's going to cost less and be delivered faster if we go that way. But the business people are saying, but that's going to impact the long-term operations of this asset. And we can't afford for that to happen. In which case, it becomes a trade-off, doesn't it? Is it more expensive to save money now and be hit with operational costs later? Or should we take the longer way to deliver and have fewer operational costs? And that's a sum that has to be developed. So that's that tension that exists on a project.
That is very good. Who is responsible for this alignment between the business people and between, the achievers, the people on the ground who are doing the construction and implementation? Who is responsible to align those two groups of people to the same track?
Well, in a perfect world, Sameh, in a perfect world, that alignment has to start at the very top, and it starts inside that project board or that program board, steering committee, whatever you want to call it. You have to have representatives of the business, the delivery people, key stakeholders, and so forth. And they have to be prepared to work together. And if they can work together, their people will work together, and you'll end up with alignment. If you don't have alignment at the bottom, it's because you haven't got alignment at the top.
That is great. Like when we talk about governance, and before getting to the details of the conference and how is it structured, how governance can help us actually to deliver our mega projects on time and within budget, and as well also considering the benefits and the objectives we have set at the beginning.
Well, to be honest, I don't think it's a case of how the governance can help. I don't think they can be delivered on time, on budget, and deliver benefits unless the governance is good. You can't do it without the right governance in place. You simply can't, because your decision making will be ineffective. You're either going to have inefficient decision making, which means it's just going to take too much time. I gave that example before about having multiple committees, no clarity around who's accountable for what. That slows down decision making. But the other thing you can end up happening is having the wrong people making the decisions. So, organizations do this all the time. They set up a project steering committee and get exactly the right people on that steering committee to make the decisions, and then have somebody above them say whether or not that decision will go forward. They're not the best person. The best person are on the board. So make them accountable and empower them. Yeah. So I don't think you can deliver these mega projects efficiently and effectively without good governance.
And it's not a matter of help or support. They should be there.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I see.
Most definitely.
Right. There is another tricky question on the chat box saying that from engineer Khalid Auda is saying, any advice may be provided for marketing and sales team when offering their product services for mega projects management? He's a salesperson,
So does that mean how they could get work on a mega project? Is that what that question's asking?
He is asking, for an instance, any difference between marketing and sales when we are dealing with the normal project than the people who are doing the marketing and sales with the mega projects?
Yep. Marketing and sales, and when offering their product services for mega projects management. Well, that's a tough one. That's a very tough one. Sales teams when offering their product services for mega projects management. It just comes down to understanding your client. If that's the case, you have to understand what that client particularly needs in that mega project environment, and offer the products and services that they need. How you get to speak to the right people, that becomes, that was my challenge throughout my entire consultancy career. How do you speak to the right people? Yes, it's not an easy question to answer sometimes.
No, that is fine. Engineer Mohammed Abdelati is saying common risk in mega projects, and when you have consortium contractors, is once you deliver the project, they demobilize everything and they minimize the work factors or forces to eliminate the overhead. This causes poor handing over and sometimes lack of proper closing out for the project, such as lesson learned, as built drawing, archiving. As a client, how we can manage and control this. It's very tricky as well, and it's very important since, Ross, we are facing much of issues during the project, any project, even it's not mega project, during the project closure.
Yes.
But when we get to the mega project closure, I believe that the task is too much, and the concentration should be too much actually, while you are handling many aspects from procurement, closing the agreement and purchase orders, for instance, with the suppliers and the vendors you are dealing with. Demobilizing and reassignment for the team, many aspects are going on. How to consider this one?
Yeah, it's like, that's such a good question, isn't it? So to start with, when you're talking about handover itself, handover isn't an event, is it? Handover is a project in its own right. Yeah, if you get from where you're delivering that mega project into where it's becoming operational, there's a large amount of work in that. So that needs to be built into contracts so that you can ensure that the contractors aren't going to disappear once the product or the asset itself has been delivered. The other thing then is, from the client's perspective, is their people need to be integrated into the back end of the project to ensure that as it approaches handover, they're getting involved in those handover activities. So what you don't want is two separate teams, and one team just saying, here it is, and the other team having to pick it up and try to run with it. Yeah, you need an integrated team when it comes to handover. I would argue you need an integrated team most of the way through, irrespective of the nature of the contract. You still need to get business people in there because they're the ones that are going to have to work with the assets that are being delivered. So two things: make sure the contract reflects the needs of the client in respect of handover, but secondly, ensure that the client has the ability to integrate their people into that handover process and upstream of the handover process so that their people are there and can understand what's going on in the handover.
Okay, yes. And it's not logic, it's not logic and rational to keep it to the end of the project. We have to go step by step, and one integrated team should be there. So the closure will take place from very early.
Yes, indeed. Indeed.
Okay, I see. I would like to say thank you to Mr. Nagi Tawfiq. Mr. Alberto Osman also is saying hello from Munich. Thank you so much for joining. I know that he's flying today. Mr. Yasser Nabil, thanks a lot for attending our episode. Like Ross, who should attend this event from the project management professional?
Everyone. It's honestly, there's not too many opportunities to listen to people that we've got here. So
On this level.
Yes, of that level. So when you've got Bent Flyvbjerg, he will be having what we call a fireside chat, and he'll be having a fireside chat with Becky Wood. Now, Becky Wood is the new CEO of the National Infrastructure and Services Transition Authority in the UK. That is the biggest project job in the UK. So she will be talking with Bent Flyvbjerg. Now, that alone is worth the price of admission to hear what the two of them are going to say, because her challenges are going to be so different to the challenges that we deal with every day. And so hearing what she's got to say and how she's approaching those challenges will be hugely important. Some of the other people that we've got Antonio Nito Rodriguez. Now, he's the ex-chair of the PMI. He'll be giving a fireside chat and just listening to what he has to say. We've got, I think it's about 8 or 9 PMI fellows who will be taking part in a panel and just listening to their views on, their careers and what they faced in the mega project world and how they overcome those challenges. That's got to be worth gold dust. So there's so many people there. There's master classes. I'll run through it when we get to that, but there's master classes as well the day after the big keynotes. And in those master classes, there are all sorts of areas that you can get more and more information on. And it's like a door opening for you. You go to a master class like that and the door opens and you think, I need to know more about this. And so, it's a great opportunity to broaden your education, basically.
I can assure you, Ross, you and Alberto actually are doing something not done earlier, and I'm sure that it's not something easy or simple to be repeated one and one again.
Yeah, it's I think what Alberto's putting the hard yards in on this, and what Alberto is doing is fantastic for the industry. Really fantastic for the industry.
All the best. There is another question from engineer John Salama. He's telling that how can governments and the private sectors collaborate more effectively to ensure that mega projects are delivered on time, within budget, and with sustainable long-term value for the community?
Yes, that's a good question, isn't it? Pardon me.
Sure, go ahead.
Sometimes you have to look at the motivations of the people involved and make sure that everybody is motivated to the same end. One of the big issues is in dealing with risk on these projects, isn't it? Because when they're so huge, if something goes wrong, it's either going to really hurt the government or it's really going to hurt the private contractor. And so you need a reasonable assessment of how that's going to operate and the risk sharing going forward. I think too that there's a tendency with mega projects where, because they're so huge and the assets they're delivering are so enormous, that the focus starts to become just asset delivery, as opposed to people as opposed to business people from the government, business people, people from the contractor working together on the business outcomes and benefits. So if it's possible to get the private contractors involved in understanding the outcomes that the government is trying to achieve, as opposed to just understanding the time, the schedule, and the schedule and the budget, I think that would be helpful.
Okay, that is amazing. Again, we came to the alignment and to the collaboration at the beginning, or two teams, for an instance, to be aligned and integrated, so we can look from the same point of view.
Yes, that's right, and it's all very well. You can still have a hard value contract. There's nothing wrong with a hard value contract, but that doesn't mean you don't work together. You try and work together. And for people on the government side, for your clients on the government side, remember too that the government will have its business case, or should have a business case for the mega project or the project or whatever. Never forget, there's always more than one business case on a project. The contractor has always got their own business case. They may not call it a business case, but there's always something that describes what it is they're trying to achieve. Now, the closer what they're trying to achieve aligns with what the government is trying to achieve, the better off everybody is going to be.
Awesome. There is another question by Mr. Amr Hafiz. Is telling that what is the best practices to manage cost overrun when the initial estimate was inaccurate or prices fluctuate in mega projects? Because as you know, that mega project, mostly the lifetime of the project or the span is too long, at least for an instance 3 years or 5 years and more. So how to deal with the estimates at the beginning and the fluctuation of the prices of the major equipment or tools or material which we are going to use?
Well, if I knew the full answer to that, Sameh, I'd be the most popular man in the world, wouldn't I? And every government would be trying to get a hold of me.
Okay.
But one of the things that worries me about mega projects, if I was at the top of one of these, is the fact that they do happen over a long time period, because they're such massive undertakings. If at all possible, I think the approach that should be taken or could be taken is to try and break those mega projects down so that things are being delivered over time. So you're not waiting to the very end, if that's possible. I know in some cases that's not possible. But I remember in the book, how Big Things Get Done, one of the points that Bent Flyvbjerg made in that was that the projects that don't overrun tend to be modular. So if you're building a wind farm, you build the first turbine, then you build the second turbine, then you build the third, and each one's the same as the one before. So if you can somehow modularize a mega project so that you've got similarity of assets being delivered or whatever, then perhaps that will help. But the initial estimates, go to the conference and go to the talks on reference class forecasting, because reference class forecasting is a great way of working out what your estimate is actually correct. And what you may not believe what their figure says, but if it's a great deal higher than what you're saying, then it would be a good idea to investigate it.
Okay, I see. That is awesome. I just come from the ABC and the Project Management Summit. It was conducted or took place in Barcelona, and they concentrated more on the contract management, and they proposed that every contract should have something like price adjustment clause, and without those clauses, the conflict will remain, the disputes will remain between any performing organization and the client. If something like this there, especially in the long life cycle of any project, the dispute will arise no way.
Well, they'd have to have those clauses. If you're talking a long term, I think only a contractor that wasn't very savvy would go ahead with a contract that didn't have price escalation in it.
Yes. Amazing. Again, now back to our conference in December. How is it structured? We announced that it will be 3 days, one round table, 1 day for round tables. After that, keynotes.
Yep.
After that, master classes. Can you elaborate more about the structure and how the people can get to the events, how to choose the topics, for instance, and so on?
Okay, so I am just looking at the website now. So the
Yes,
roundtable
sure. Go ahead.
discussions, if anybody isn't familiar with the concept, a roundtable is simply you have an expert in a particular area, and the roundtable is limited to 12 people.
It's a
So
like closed
12
meeting.
people can then join that round.
It's like closed meeting.
Yes, it's a closed meeting basically, and the people in there all have the same issues around this particular area, and they discuss what their issues are, and the expert can help them to resolve those sorts of issues. So that's what a round table is. And I think there's about a dozen round tables the week ahead of the conference. So the conference actually takes place uh, in three
For
areas. So
EMEA,
we've got
yes. For
Europe,
EMEA, I,
Middle
I,
East.
I believe that's 1st of December. 1st of December, it will be the round table in EMEA region. That's right?
That's right. Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And then we've got an APAC, Australia and Pacific, and then there's Americas. So there's three areas. So on the first, it's the round tables. So if you're interested in being part of a round table, just register for it.
Yes, yes.
Then on the 8th of December, that is when the keynotes take place. And the lineup that Alberto has put together here is amazing. So we kick off with the CEO of Oxford Global Projects, who works closely with Bent Flyvbjerg, and he will be talking about reference class forecasting. So you kick
Okay.
off with reference class forecasting. Then you've got Bent Flyvbjerg and Becky Wood, who's the Chief Executive Officer of the National Infrastructure and Service Transformation Authority, which is a mouthful, which basically says she's the most important person in projects in the whole of the United Kingdom. And then there's various others. So myself and Adrian Morey, my co-author on the P3G governance guide, we'll be doing a keynote talking about govern billions, not bureaucracy, making governance work at scale. Antonio Nito Rodriguez, it just goes on and on. The fellows, Lee Lambert, you know who Lee Lambert is, one of the fellows of the PMI who established the PMI. Elsie Tun, Lenka Pincott, Chief of Staff to the CEO of the PMI. So many top people.
You have mentioned right now. You have mentioned right now, Ross. We have 12 round tables. That's right.
I think it's 12. I'd have to count them, but I think it's 12. It's a lot.
That is fine. We will get back to the agenda. And how many keynotes?
Keynotes. Let's see. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10. We've got 10 keynotes, but some of those keynotes contain multiple people. So, for instance, the PMI fellows are all in a group together, chaired by Lenka Pincott, who's the Chief of Staff to the CEO. Yeah, so you get multiple people. My good friend Stephen Jenner is giving a keynote talking about benefits management. He's the world guru on benefits management.
Okay.
Eileen Roden, for those of you who don't know, she's the director and co-founder of the House of PMO. They are very, very good in the PMO space. She's giving a keynote on that. So that's the keynotes and the round tables. And then we have
the master classes at the third day.
The master classes are on the following day, aren't they?
Okay. And how many master classes are there, and what are the main topics of the master classes?
I knew you'd ask me that, and I'm desperately trying to find them. So just give me a second. There's the round table. Where are the master class? Oh, here we are. Here we are. They're on the 9th of December. So let me give you some examples. So Adrian Morey, who is my co-author, is doing a masterclass on sponsoring projects, sponsoring mega projects and programs. So what the needs of the sponsor are and the project board members. We've got myself, I'm giving a masterclass. Ahmed Abdesalam in Tunisia.
Yes, well-known Turkey guy.
Yeah, he's wonderful. He's a wonderful man and very, very bright. So he's giving a masterclass on coherence by design, where strategy finds soul and execution finds flow.
Amazing.
Stephen Jenner's giving a masterclass.
Tahaddi Adra as well is there.
Dr. Saadi Adra is there. Is my Giga project really a program? So that's what I was talking about just before. Also, if you haven't had the chance to go to a masterclass given by Stephen Jenner, do so. He is a wonderful speaker. I can guarantee you will be entertained. He's very, very good. His area is benefits. So how many masterclasses have we got? Just hold on. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 masterclasses. Muhammad Khalifa.
Oh, amazing.
Muhammad
Khalifa is there as well. Yes, I have seen his photo today.
Yes. So it's there's a great lineup. There's a great lineup. Alberto Osman has done a fantastic job in putting this together.
You collected, the top voices around the world in the project management in just 3 days.
In just 3 days. Yes. I think it took him more than 3 days to collect them.
Yes, okay. Let's be back to some question in the chat box. Mr. Ziad Al-Ghamdi, he is telling that brownfield projects become high risk to contractors, especially when you work perimeter with the operation and shutdown and tie-in are not under project control. From contractor's perspective, how I can handle these changes, and from project management perspective, what is the best way to overcome these challenges?
Wow, that's another very big question. I understand what he's saying in terms of the challenges of working in brownfield projects, because you're never quite sure what you're going to find.
Exactly.
And you're never quite sure. You can't be specific up front about the impact of operations on your activities. So the only thing I can say there is that the contract has to be sufficiently flexible by both parties so that can be addressed when it arises, because it's not going to be possible to detail every single interface between operations and the necessary shutdowns and so forth. So to my way of thinking, the first thing is to make sure that the contract has got flexibility in it. And the second thing is back to what we've been saying, integrate, try and get the teams to work together so that, if a reasonable client should know when they're impacting the contractor. And the best way to ensure your client is reasonable is bring them on board, have them working with you. Maybe even when you're developing the contract, have the opportunity to have some of the client's people working with you on that contract so that they are faced with the problems you're faced with and can go back to the client and say, we're really not doing the right thing here. This is not their problem. It's our problem. We need to solve it.
I see. Ross, unfortunately, I'm working right now in the same situation which Mr. Ziad is describing. I'm working in the brownfield projects, and unfortunately, at the beginning, most of the contracts there are fixed price lump sum, and even the flexibility is there from the client. It's available only for the time extension, but all of the damage and all of the pleading by the contractors will not be considered. If you have shutdown, for instance, and you are waiting 3 or 4 or 5 months to get this shutdown to finalize your work, nobody actually is going to compensate you with the operation cost, which you are suffering during this period of time. This is a big challenge described by Mr. Ziad.
Yeah, see, that is not a healthy environment, obviously, for the contractor, but it's going, in the long run, that will be a very unhealthy environment for the clients as well, because what will happen is prices are going to be, or risk is going to be priced into contracts. So the client, they think they're doing the right thing by pushing hard against contractors. All they're going to be doing is building up a problem for the future.
Yes, I can't agree more actually. I can't agree
And,
more because
and yeah.
one situation, or maybe if it's repeated 2-3 times, the contractors will get out. He will not he will not be able to stand actually with those losses.
Yes. No, agreed. And whose benefit is that to? It's no one's benefit.
Yes, exactly. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I've heard this before, Same, that there does tend to be a lot of contractual conflict happening in the region,
Yes.
and I think the governments need to start to think about how to deal with that, because it will cause them a problem and it will cause contractors a problem.
Yes, that is right. طيب, another question, Mr. Osama bin Smeda, he's telling that from my experience, I realized that the majority of projects got delayed and faced budget constraints are because of improper tendering management, such as incomplete design and the copied specifications with a lump sum contract type with the contractor. How do you see that?
Whereas the majority of projects get delayed because of improper tendering management, such as incomplete design and copied specs. Yes. So it sounds like we're talking about contracts here where the specification is being developed by the client and then handed to the contractor. Isn't there an opportunity for contractors to get involved at the very beginning and look through the contract and say, well, we need greater detail on the specification. Otherwise, we need flexibility in the contract to address those particular issues.
Yes, okay. You see that the performing organization should, at the beginning, start to discuss what it's going on. Is the design complete or not? Specifications are there in details or no? So they can decide actually how to proceed further.
Yeah, I think so. And this is where it's always better if you can have the client and the contractor working together on these things rather than immediately starting to butt heads together, because that achieves nothing. It achieves nothing at all.
Yes.
Just
Yes,
stress.
I can't agree more. Yes, that is very fine. Right. Before getting to my last concern here, actually in our episode, and I'm enjoying the discussion. I would like to remind all people watching and listening to us that the links for registrations are available within the description of this episode, and I will drop also the link of the agenda so you can get to all what mentioned by Ross Garland regarding the master classes, the keynotes, and as well also the roundtable topics, which you can choose from, and you can set your special agenda before even getting to the registration and the event. Ross, what is the last advice you can say to the people working under the umbrella of the project management, especially the mega project initiatives?
What's the last thing I can say? What I would say is always be aware of the governance, because even though you may not think that it's going to impact you because it's up there and you're working at this area here, it will. If there isn't good governance in place, then sometimes it needs to be the project manager that indicates that that's the case, and they need to strengthen it, because of to reflect on the project manager. And let's face it, when things go wrong, who gets the blame? The project manager. It's always
manager, or project management team. Project manager, we can say.
Yes, exactly right.
Yes, that is right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ross, for your time, for your attendance with us today. And I wish to see you, inshallah, in the upcoming conference in December 1st, with all of our attendees today, and also the people who are going to register to attend the event.
Excellent. I hope so too, Sameh. So thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot. Many
Okay.
thanks. I would like to say thank you for everyone attending this session. Please, if you need any clarification, if you have any inquiry, you can contact me directly, the ambassador of EMEA, so we can discuss about the details of the event and the agenda and its details. See you, inshallah, next week at the same time, Wednesday at 9 p.m. Saudi time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye bye.